That's how it be, man. So tell us a little bit about your journey being an athlete in college and then how that led you to become a founder.
Yeah, so I, it's funny you got on. You said exciting to talk to an athlete today, and I tell you that most of my friends would probably laugh at that and say he's not an athlete. I played college football here. I was an offensive lineman, and then at the end of my career, I was a defensive lineman. But I really didn't start playing football until 10th grade in high school, and that was like the first legitimate. I mean, I played freshman basketball, but other than that, that's kind of when athletics started, and it became a massive and very deep passion of mine and took over my life. And so then I ended up playing football. I wrestled, I rode in high school and did a bunch of sports. And I was lucky enough to be able to carry that on into college. And it was a wonderful experience. I learned a lot from it. I have all kinds of crazy stories, good, bad, a lot of really important life lessons. But it was an incredible life experience. It taught me a lot. And then when I stopped playing football, when I graduated in 2020, I actually, discovered that I had this massive hole in my life because it was like, this had taken over and I had no main driving purpose or vision for what I was supposed to be doing. I kind of floated along for a little bit. I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? I wrote a book. I, did whatever. I got into like fishing. There's all kinds of things that I started doing, but I pretty quickly realized that I wanted to go back to sports in some kind of way. So I went to the William Mary football team and asked if I could join as just like an intern, a coaching intern, a scouting intern, that kind of thing. And so they basically just had me start working talent evaluation for them, learning as much as I could, just joining in on meetings and taking notes and listening to the coaches talk about, the other side of the game, which, a little bit about as an athlete, but when you sit in on those coaches meetings, it completely changes your perspective on how things go down. And it was very eye-opening. I loved it. I think for me, the coolest part about all of that was the talent evaluation, because especially for like running backs, I always say watching running backs and evaluating them is my favorite thing, because you get a running back's highlight tapes, right? It's just endless touchdowns, touchdown after touchdown. It's just so much fun. But it changes your perspective on the game, because you always know it's a business and you always know that, it's about performance and execution at the end of the day. And so, it's not necessarily about your feelings. But when you have to evaluate thousands of athletes and really pick out, even at an FCS school, which is Division I, but not the highest levels of Division I, like Alabama, for example, and really pick out like, okay, these are guys that I know can play here, and these are guys that aren't qualified. It just changes your view of the sport and really how much of a focus, or emphasis there is on performance and execution and getting, every competitive edge that you can. And so while I was working as a scout and a coaching intern, I actually started thinking about my background in physics and engineering and different technologies that I was familiar with, and problems in the space and in my community, which is athletics and football players, and how I could solve them. And so that's how I really got into starting STG Visions.
Wow. So you casually dropped that you wrote a book. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Not really. It was nothing special. It wasn't like here's how you evaluate athletes or this or that. It was more so just like a short novel. Maybe someday I'll go back and revise it, put it to somebody who actually writes, and then see if I can get it published. But nothing special, and I don't want to get into it too much.
No, well, I appreciate it, because you and I are actually pretty similar. We're both founders. We both love football. We both love the Cowboys, and we're both published authors. So
There we go. Wait, I'm glad we're finally becoming boys, man. Where have you been?
Yeah, for sure. Right. I know we should have met earlier.